MSNBC host Joy Reid was joined by body language expert Janine Driver, who assessed the post-debate confrontation between Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders, and concluded that Warren was telling the truth, while Sanders was lying. On Saturday morning's edition of AM Joy, Reid kicked off a lengthy panel segment by summarizing the timeline of the controversy, which began with a Sanders campaign volunteer script that took aim at Warren's affluent supporters, which was followed by a story in which four sources recalled Warren claiming that Bernie Sanders told her, during a private meeting in 2018, that a woman could not beat Trump in the 2020 election. Sanders denied the story, Warren confirmed it, then they each did the same again during a live debate, after which Warren confronted Sanders on camera for calling her a liar, and Sanders became agitated, said she called him a liar, and walked off saying they should discuss it later. Reid also pointed out the torrent of abuse that was then heaped on Warren by Sanders supporters online in the form of snake emojis. Reid then introduced a panel that included Driver, as well as activist Brittany Packnett Cunningham and political reporter Aaron Haynes. Reid began by telling Driver that when Warren rolled up on him, was like, no, we're not going to handshake now, you called me a liar. That felt to me like a lot of the ways that women have to operate and work in the professional environment, where you can't be angry or you're the bad one. Most of us want to deal with it afterwards instead of just going right for it, Driver said, and added, the fact that Elizabeth Warren not only came right over, she squared her body. He's giving her the cold shoulder. He doesn't turn to her. She says, I think you just called me a liar on national TV. If you go back to Wienergate, you go back to all of these political Armageddons. When it comes to deception, no one calls someone else a liar. And she comes right out and says, wait a minute, did you just call me a liar? Driver continued. This is indicative of someone who's telling the truth, because if she was lying it's unlikely she would have confronted him in that moment. Haynes told Reid that the gloves are definitely off with 16 days to go until the Iowa caucuses, and said, it's interesting that the conversation has shifted to gender now that really the formidable candidates of color are really out of the race. We are getting down to the wire here with primary voting about to get underway, and these campaigns are looking to differentiate themselves, and for better and for worse, gender is still a way to do that in this country, Haynes said. Packnett Cunningham told Reid that, we are also seeing that this electability conversation is turning into a self-fulfilling prophecy. When people start that conversation, I often hear them doing one of two things, she continued. Either masking their own bias and claiming that other people have the bias and they're worried that someone won't vote for a person of color or a woman, or they are actually unintentionally or intentionally validating the worst biases in our society. The idea that a woman can't win, that the idea that a person of color can't win, that a woman of color can't win, are things that we ingest all the time, even if we identify with those folks. Reid returned to Driver, and said, Bernie Sanders does have a sort of physicality when he talks that is a shaking your finger at Hillary Clinton, shaking your finger, shoving. His physicality makes me think, yeah, he could have said, listen, I think in this environment a woman can't win. That doesn't seem like a crazy thing for him to say. I think Bernie's lying, Driver said, then explained, we see him, he slouches forward anyway, Joy, but here he turtles, and if you look at his eye level where he normally answers questions, when he makes the denial, his whole shoulders come up like a little kid getting caught. His eye level is below his shoulders. This is trying to hide in plain sight. Reid concluded the segment by noting that it is depressing to still be talking about whether or not a woman can win the presidency in 2020. Watch the clip above via MSNBC. Have a tip we should know? Email protected. Let's block ads. Why?